Hello, my name is Brandon with RPG Overviews, and in this video I'm going to be telling you about Run, a zombie apocalypse game. And that's probably the way you need to say it every time you say run, you've got to go run, because it's got an exclamation mark on there. So this is a pay what you want game on drivethrurpg. It's not very big. I'll have a link down in the description if you want to check it out. Here's the front of it. It's from Ganazar Games. And here we go. So you are part of the Guardians. Colonel Angel is going to tell you all about it, kind of fill you in. This is a world where for 30 years there's been psychic powers have cropped up, and then 3 years after that, a bunch of dead started to rise up. So it's a world in the year 2063 where zombies are commonplace, but you're the Guardians and you're going to try to fight back against them. So it uses a D10, and it also has, your characters have strengths and weaknesses. So it's going to tell you that, your characters are going to be pretty much comprised of 4 different traits: characteristics, proficiency, skills, and quirks. And you're going to get bonuses if you have ones that are applicable in that situation. Characteristics and proficiencies give you a +2 or a -2 if it doesn't apply. And your skills and quirks can give you a +1 and again a -1 if it doesn't apply. You've got infection and health. They're measured on a 4-tier scale, and then anything psychic will be tied into your mental state. Negative traits are in bold, and when you start out, some of your traits are in a negative state. So for health, you've got unharmed, injured, heavily injured, and unconscious. So you're unharmed, and then whenever something happens in the game, of course, you're going to probably go down to injured or heavily injured, and then unconscious. Dead's not on there, so maybe you don't die. And the same thing for all the other ones. So you're going to start off ill-equipped, and you're not going to be bitten, so your infection rate is uninfected. So at first I was kind of like, that, how do you do like damage and stuff? But I realized that once you figure out the action resolution, if you fail on stuff, then whoever's running this game is going to tell you, well, then you're going down a tier in your health, or maybe you're tired, so you're going to go down in your exhaustion state. So that's how that's going to kind of work. So there's an example there of a character, as well as some genre traits when it comes to more zombie type stuff. Genre traits must be from the areas of military or survival training, psychic abilities, or even zombie abilities. That some of the character here, this Harold Schaff, is actually, he's kind of close to being like a zombie. So you'll see down at the bottom left, that's his characteristics. So he can travel far and fast, throwing stuff I can do, that's based off dexterity. But his negative is I am too smart for my own good, and that's a smarts thing. So you have a negative in each one of those categories. And your action resolution is going to be, there's a couple different ways of doing it, simple and complex. You're going to roll a d10, and then you'll add those bonuses if anything's applicable, +2 for proficiencies and characteristics, or +1 for quirks. And of course, you'll get negatives. You need to try to get a 5 on a d10 for a basic success. And of course, that difficulty number could probably go up and down. Simple resolution is you just roll d10 and do any external modifiers. Some examples are remembering portions of a book read, not falling on a slippery floor, or arm wrestling someone. A complex resolution is a structure of 4 rolls on a d10 plus their modifiers versus a series of difficulties or a person. So these are always something that can't be done quickly or requires participation or more than one person. Some examples are engaging in combat, creating an item from scratch, or researching a new spell. So throughout your combat, you'll have maybe 4 roles you're going to do, maybe planning, the execution, the climax or the completion, and then cleanup of it. And that could be maybe you're working on a computer program or something, you're trying to hack some sort of security system. You'll kind of do those things as well if you want, or you can just make it the one roll. Now, one thing that's really neat is the negative traits and bonuses. It says an applicable negative trait may be used by a player to automatically fail a roll. The GM may grant a bonus marker to the player. These markers must be used during the same session. A player may have 4 markers tallied up. These markers are removed at the end of the session. A marker is expended by the player to add +2 to a future roll where the result is known. A player may also use 2 markers to adjust one of their statistic traits up by 1 tier, but must provide a narrative explanation. So if you've gone down for something, you can expend those 2, and then maybe you find, if it's maybe your equipment, maybe you find some sort of stash or something, and you find some weapons or some armor, or whatever the case may be. And then there's some genre-specific roles. You've got normal zombies, you've got changed zombies, which are much they're newer zombies, and they're kind of intelligent, they can use tools. You've got super zombies. They maintain some of the personality of their source person. They're very much identical to a player character. Then you have psyker zombies, which of course have some psychic powers. There isn't really anything in here more about the psychic powers, something you're gonna have to kind of work with, but I'm certain it's something you could come up with. The system is obviously very easy to do that. There's rules for medicine, gear, and research, using complex roles for research, obviously, and then some closing notes. So overall, it's a neat little pay what you want zombie apocalypse game. Run is, and so yeah, it's not bad at all. It was a little bit complicated at first, just about how you do combat and stuff like that. Now I see how it works. It'd be cool to have just one more page, maybe, of a full example of how you like a combat scenario or whatever the case may be. Just one more page, kind of giving you some examples of how some of these things work more. Because I do enjoy the examples that are in this, especially the full character, the example here of Harold. So there it is. There's Run, a zombie apocalypse game. So check it out. Thanks a lot. Link down in the description.